What's up guys, and welcome back to From the Attic. A couple of days ago, Sony finally had their long-awaited PlayStation showcase where we had the chance to get our very first look at God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to 2018's God of War. This was easily one of the best games of that year and quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. I've always been a big fan of the series and I absolutely loved the direction the franchise was taking. But still, there was a couple of things that I felt could be improved with a second installment, which brings us to Ragnarok. In today's video, I wanted to talk about the 5 things I hope we'll see in this new game. As I did with Hogwarts Legacy, tell me in the comments down below what do you want to see in Ragnarok, and if the video does well, I'll try to make a part 2 featuring your wishes. With all that being said, sit back and enjoy. One of the key pillars of the God of War franchise is the boss fights and the set pieces. Those are true spectacles of blood and gore that will oftentimes make your jaw drop. Everybody who played the previous games remember their first encounter with the Hydra, Kronos, the Kraken, or Poseidon. These are some of the most memorable moments from the series, and despite their over-reliance on quick-time events, they managed to give the games a sense of scale and power like we don't see very often. On the other hand, 2018's God of War clearly wanted to tell a more grounded story this time around, focused on the relationship between Kratos and his son Atreus. Therefore, the amount of big epic moments was clearly dialed down a little bit. We still got the insane first boss fight with the Stranger and a pretty cool fight with a dragon, but that's about it. The most epic creature of the game is actually one of the good guys, and the final boss fight was kind of a rehash of the first one, but not as good. There was also the encounter with the Sons of Thor and a couple of smaller bosses here and there, but those weren't particularly epic in my opinion, at least in the God of War scale. So I definitely think there's room for improvement here, and I do believe they will deliver. I mean, the game is called Ragnarok. This has to be epic, right? It's pretty much the end of the goddamn world. Also, Thor is in the game, so that should be interesting as well. The main location of 2018's God of War was a semi-open world Midgard with lots of mountains, forests, cave rivers, and gorgeous fantasy landscapes. But the main issue with that world, in my opinion, was that it felt empty. Not talking about content here, that was perfectly fine to me, I'm talking about actual human presence. I understand that there was something called the Desolation happening, which sort of explained why humans had left Midgard for the most part, but it still felt like an excuse more than anything else. Which is why my next wish is to have towns and to see this gorgeous world filled with more life, whether it's human or any creature from the Nine Realms. I think that adding more NPCs in the game will not only make the world feel more immersive and believable, but it will also raise the stakes of the story significantly because now human lives will be on the line during Ragnarok. When you look at past God of War games, that's what made the Siege of Athens or the Attack of Mount Olympus so much more impactful, because there were actual casualties. The first trailer for Ragnarok did show a small fishing village that seemed to be bursting with personality and activity, so that makes me really hopeful for a more lived-in world. God of War 2018 wasn't just a sequel, it was also a soft reboot for the franchise. Not only did it introduce us to Norse mythology, but it also ditched the original hack-and-slash gameplay in favor of third-person action-adventure with lots of different influences like Zelda and Metroidvanias. It also came with a brand new combat system that prioritized strategy and skills over button mashing and speed. That change came with a new weapon called the Leviathan Axe, a two-handed war axe that Kratos can use to slash his way through enemies or throw as a deadly boomerang to solve various puzzles and to hit faraway targets. Halfway through the adventure though, the classic Blades of Chaos from the previous games did make a comeback. What's interesting is that both of these weapons had different uses and different skill trees with all sorts of abilities and attributes. For instance, the axe was used to slay fiery undead creatures because of its icy properties, and the blades were perfect for the frozen hellscape of Helheim. But with Ragnarok, I really hope we'll have at least one more new weapon to mix things up a bit, maybe not go as far as God of War 3, that was a bit too much, but just one more weapon to make the combat encounters even more varied and exciting. But the only thing that makes adding more weapons worthwhile is adding more enemy types. The God of War games are known for having a very extensive bestiary, from Cyclops to Minotaurs all the way to trolls and witches. But God of War 2018 only had a handful of enemy types when compared to the impressive numbers of previous games. And as awesome and brutal as the stun executions were, there were only a few different animations. And that issue also translated to some recycled boss fights like the trolls and the soul eaters. Which is why I'm definitely hoping for more enemy variety in Ragnarok. The trailer already revealed a bunch of cool looking creatures like these weird frog monsters or this big angry lizard, and also showed some new finishing moves. So I'm confident that we'll have plenty of different monstrosities to kill. It's also been confirmed that the 9 realms will be in the game, which should offer a great deal of variety. Which brings me to my final wish for Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, there's a total of 9 realms, but in 2018's God of War there was only 6 of them available, and unfortunately they were not all as fleshed out as Midgard. Muspelheim and Niflheim, for example, were only challenge rooms to test out your skills in combat. Jotunheim was extremely short and only happened at the end of the game, and Helheim wasn't as crazy as I hoped it would be, which is a bit disappointing when you consider how freaking awesome the underworld is in the other games. The only realm that felt truly fleshed out and significant, aside from Midgard of course, was Alfheim, the home of the light and dark elves. But thankfully it's been officially confirmed that Ragnarok will in fact feature all 9 realms. Which is really good news because I can't wait to visit Asgard or the ancestral homeland of the dwarves, which I won't even try to pronounce. Now the real question is, what can we expect from these realms? I do hope that these new worlds will feel like proper locations that you can explore with lots of things to discover, people to talk to, and so on. Obviously not on the same scale of Midgard, but still there's so much potential with these realms that I would be really sad to see most of them be relinquished to simple filler content. But in the end, no matter what happens, I'm sure God of War Ragnarok will be an absolute beast of a video game. 2022 is already looking jam-packed with releases, but I know for a fact that Kratos' new adventure will manage to stand out from the crowd. The previous game was absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to see what Ragnarok has in store for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to tell me what do you want to see in the game, and while you're in the comment section, please drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new. That's pretty much it, and I'll talk to you guys later.